Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Next Gen Morning Commute Show. My name is Clemence, and I'm hosting the show today with Marcus. How are you doing, Marcus?
Morning, Clem. Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. I'm really looking forward to today's show. How about you? How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been really great. I'm really excited for today. What do we have today on the show, Marcus?
So coming up, we've got an interview with Catherine Knowles of Cura Insurance and our very long-awaited new feature, Cookery Focus, with our very own Rohan Subajyoti. Although I think he may well have recruited a little help in the kitchen today. But before all that excitement, we've got James on the news desk from New Model at Miser. Morning, James. How are you? What's in the news for us today?
Good morning. Well, thank you. Hello, everybody. News today, first thing that's come out is a rather scathing attack to the FCA by the Complaints Commissioner after a report that was published on the 21st of April. Essentially, the Commissioner has labelled the FCA's complaints team inadequately resourced, dogged by basic failures, therefore suffering from high turnover of staff, and delays have worsened from the FCA in regards to their reports and feedback over the past year. So it's quite colourful language. And this is due to a report where the FCA was ordered to pay back and accepted recommendations to pay back £750 in redress to a firm after it published an unredacted first supervisory notice last year. However, the FCA did hit back at this, it did accept the language in some forms, but it did hit back about its actions because the firm in question, or the director, was involved in a FSCS claim a few years ago with not consumer losses of roughly about 6 million. So the FCA was concerned about the firm in question, but it really doesn't excuse why claims are taking so long with the complaints team. But as you said, with language such as high turnover of staff, which we saw the other day, staff being moved around to the senior managers regime, and that sort of thing, it's all not going quite well at the FCA at the moment. The next feature to look out for, which came out this week, is the new MAG feature, Time Well Spent, and how advisors are investing their time in lockdown and how they're helping their clients through this time of distress. So look out for that. The debut column is featuring fitness guru Steve Martin, who I believe is here somewhere. And next week's column is featuring Boost Financial's Josh Button. So wait till that comes in your letterboxes next week and have a read, please. Now, next we've got yesterday, came out that Nutmeg have lost another member of senior staff. That was after Lisa Kaplan departed the business in January. The investment director and chief executive left last year. That was Casey Long, which was head of product. So take from that what you will. And now we'll go to markets. Now the FTSE 100 is marginally down this morning. It's fairly stable after climbing more than 2% yesterday. It did fall roughly 5% on Monday and Tuesday due to which we all know about, the plunging oil prices, but it seems to have stabilised somewhat. Mainly due to oil prices, found a bit of a foothold this morning. The oil price, the bench, has rode back 7% to 21.90 per barrel. And the US benchmark jumped about 11% to 15.20 per barrel. So it's a lot better than being in negative, but still not ideal. Now, what to look out for, because I knew that was your next question coming up. Right, so I've been burning the midnight oil over the past week due to time differences and speaking with Australian advisors on trying to compare how they're dealing with lockdown, how they're dealing with clients, how the market over there is working in the sector. So please look out for that video series coming up shortly. I had to get up stupidly early to do it, so it'd be lovely if everyone could watch it. And that's all the news this morning, guys.
Thanks, James. That's brilliant. That Time Well Spent article sounds awesome. I'll be sure to check that one out. So, Clem, what's up next?
Oh, next, you're going to all love this. We have the cookery show with Rohan. So that's what we've all been waiting for. So Rohan, sprint to the kitchen and show us what you have in the kitchen for us this morning.
Okay, so disclaimer, this is going to be an absolute disaster, so apologies in advance. Morning all. I have some hired help in today. So living with me at the moment is my brother and his girlfriend. So this is Nathan.
Morning.
Nathan is a younger, taller, smarter, better looking version of me. And he can cook as well. But his girlfriend does live here as well, so hands off. Right, So today we are going to be cooking prawn linguine, and we have all the ingredients out here because there's nothing better at 8:30 in the morning than prawn linguine, is there? So I'm just as a little bit of a teaser, I'm just going to give you a few of the ingredients and stuff before you cross back to me later when it's hopefully all done. This is allegedly a good dish to impress. It looks and tastes flashy, but is very quick and easy. Also very healthy, I believe. I'm sure Steve will correct me on that. You will need 2 to 3 inches of chorizo. That's chorizo. A pack of responsibly sourced large prawns. And I'm told that India and Bangladesh are the best type or the prawns are best from there. 2 cloves of garlic, 1 red chilli, a handful of cherry tomatoes, a splash of white wine, 1 lemon, half a pack of linguine, a pack of rocket, and a little parmesan. Now, when you cross back to me, I believe at about 10 to 9, I'm going to take you through some of the method whilst Nathan's busy here cooking away. And then we'll see what the end result is, and I'll pop a prawn in my mouth around about 8:55ish. So I look forward to seeing you all very shortly.
Thank you very much, Rohan. We look forward to join you later to see what's going on. So to let Rohan and Nathan cook their prawn linguine, we're just going to move on to Catherine Knowles from Cure Insurance. Hello, Catherine. Because your business specializes in protection and in particular insuring the insurable, and I think that's quite an interesting topic. So can you tell us more about how you came to develop a business around that?
Okay then, so there's a couple of things. So when I was leaving university, my husband Alan was already working for a local broker in a sense, and around the time I was finishing uni, I was took on board there, and very, very quickly the guy who owned it basically said, right, that's it, I'm retiring and I'm off to Cyprus, which was lovely, but it meant that everybody suddenly was potentially without a job. So very short, sorry, skipping through a lot of different conversations, we decided to set up our own company, novated his clients to us, and carried on building the company up. And it was around that time as well that we were at a stage where we were wanting to get a mortgage, we were thinking of starting to have a family, and wanting to get protection insurance in place as a just in case. And we quickly established this. I'm going to call myself a quirky life. I don't like impaired life. I don't like being told I'm impaired. So I always use the word quirky because I quite like that. And we established this. There was, obviously, I was going to have some difficulties getting insurance because at the time specifically, I have hypermobility syndrome, which is very misunderstood by insurance companies. I hope there's no underwriters on the call because we can have a good long debate about that, but let's just leave that there. And I also had anxiety issues, and I'd had a couple of bouts of agoraphobia not long before wanting to have the insurances. And basically, I felt I was doing really well. My hypermobility was doing incredibly well compared to what it had been as a teenager. It was horrendous. My anxiety and everything was really well managed, and it's discovered that obviously insurers were saying to me, no, actually you're still not normal. You were either, quite a few of them were saying we're just not going to insure you, and some of them were saying, well, you're going to have to pay a lot more money because there's just something not right about you still, which was a massive kick in the teeth. Really hard when you're trying to feel confident about, wanting to start a family and having a baby and feeling like, yeah, I'm this woman, I can do this, I can build a human, and then this massive company saying, And we realized very quickly after that it wasn't just me that was struggling, and we were in the insurance world and struggling. And we thought, well, what about the regular person who doesn't have knowledge about insurance, who doesn't know about how to go and do research all these companies and the different questions and everything and how the underwriting works? And we started seeing more and more people come to us saying, well, I've been declined insurance because I've had cancer or I had a stroke, different things like that. And we just naturally moved towards sort of that, in a sense, that group of people who needed extra support.
Wow, that's really a touching story. I've worked with clients who had nothing story like you, but I also found that insuring a mother working from home was almost mission impossible because her life wasn't as valuable because she was just working from home. So yeah, there's a lot of biases, I think, in the insurance industry, which you clearly highlight. But you also, a big part of the work you do also involves producing educational videos and blogs for charities and the general public. So what are your goals in this area?
So there's quite a few goals really. So, obviously getting our name out there has been a massive thing. You know, we started off first of all, the very first one we did, which really propelled us into the spotlight, was we did a Walking Dead infographic. And I don't know if anybody's seen that, but we basically took the main characters of The Walking Dead and explained where they'd lost out because they hadn't bothered to get protection insurance. You know, somebody lost an arm, it was a case of missed out on a kick payment there. You know, when someone else died, it was the case of could have got some life, you know, and we kind of did it respectfully, tongue in cheek. You know, it wouldn't have suited everybody, but it was kind of how we first tested the waters. We then did a Game of Gnomes feature where people could go on and online and they could answer 5 questions, and depending upon their protection needs, made them either the dragon gnome or the ice man gnome, the snowman gnome, the wolf gnome. You know, there was lots of different things. We're trying to do a little bit of like pop culture to get us out there. And then the main thing that sort of like really started to it won us an award was I developed an insurance advent calendar. So I think it was 2016. For 24 days I did a video and it went out to everybody, and it was a new one. So like one day it would focus on heart attacks, one day it focused on Parkinson's disease, but then it would also maybe talk about offshore workers or people who were having to go to maybe Iraq or Iran or something to do with work. And there were just lots and lots of different things that we were doing, and we found that we got a massive response from that, and a real increase in our people contacting us, an increase in the amount of cases that we were writing. And we realized that that was where people really wanted support. And what we do in our videos, what I do, there is our contact details aren't blasted out everywhere. It's not anything fancy. At first I was just sat with my iPhone and a cup of tea. I'm known as the iPhone cup of tea sofa person, just giving out information. And I think people are so fed up of being told what to do, or, you know, when they're trying to get information, not knowing who to trust. And, you know, obviously if you've got kind of this insincere thing where brand names and contact details and get a quote here are suddenly flying about the screen, that kind of turns people off. So the intention with the videos is just purely to get that information out there. Hopefully people want to come speak to us after that. I do quite a lot of work with charities, doing videos for their members. Just again, you know, that kind of thing of that I'm just somebody who's kind of been in that position. I'm not going to preach to them about what they do and don't need. If they don't want anything, that's up to them. I would suggest that they probably should speak to somebody and get at least some advice. But I'm always very clear as well that there are times that we'll say to people, no, you know, that just isn't right for you, or there's this specialist policy over here that you can access, but no, absolutely, you know, it's just, you'd be better doing something else. You'd be better saving your money. And I'm in talks at the moment of doing like a series of videos for a charity as well that's based in Scotland. And so I think that's just the main thing, is just getting that information out there and just being honest about what's available, not promising the earth. I'm very big on that as well, just being very clear to say, right, you know, you may have a condition, it may be that it's absolutely fine, and yes, that person's declined you over there, but it's standard over here. But there are times that maybe, you know, if you've had something, then at least for a few years, it could be that there is a premium increase, it could be that there's an exclusion, but, you know, we have to be, we have to make sure it works for everybody. We have to make sure it works for the insurers. We have to make sure it works for the clients too. And it's obviously, I'm sure everybody here knows as well, it's such a fine balance when you're speaking to people and making sure that you're being respectful in all directions.
Yeah. So you also have launched a practical protection podcast.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how you went about setting up the podcast and how you plan your content.
So honestly, I'm kind of, I'm a Taurus through and through. So I just pretty much go, I just go head first into everything. So Andrew, who I co-host the podcast with, Andrew Wibley, he's an insurance underwriting consultant and product and process expert. He was coming to see us, and I happened to say to Alan about 2 days beforehand, I really would like to do a podcast. Shall I ask Andrew if he wants to do a podcast? And Alan just always, as usual, goes to me, I was going, well, I've sent an email to him offering it, so it's probably a good idea if you agree with me. And he came up and he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then we've just kind of, you know, mutually said, right, what are the main things that people want to hear about? So, you know, we're talking about there's certain conditions, and we focus a lot of our content around times where there's big kind of awareness days as well. So there's Stroke Awareness Month coming up. So later on today, I'm doing a feature, the episode about strokes, because it makes sense, you know, to sort of like tie it all in together when a lot of that knowledge and want is there. And we just kind of said, right, so these are the areas that most people come to me about. and where people seem to be, advisors seem to be unsure of what to do, what questions are going to be asked, what's going to be needed. So I talk about it from that point of view. Andrew talks about it from the point of view of the insurer to say, well, this is the kind of things I want to know, and this is the reason why it may seem unfair to you as an advisor and a client, but this is kind of like why it's happening in the background. And most of the time it makes sense. There are times that obviously we disagree on things, but generally we just sort of like focus on that. And obviously as well, getting the guests in. So people who, we're very big on the people who are going to be guests. We don't want them to come in and just kind of be a case of, well, this is the company I work for and we're amazing, and because we do this, we do that, and all this other stuff. It's a case of we're getting guests on who actually have a story. So the last person we spoke to was Mike Adams, who is the CEO of Purple, the charity. He's got a number of medical conditions, and so he came on talking about barriers to insurance, not just for him, but for people that he helps and supports as well. Today I'll be speaking to somebody who had a stroke a couple of years ago, and it's more about learning from them as to what is important to them, how they've maybe experienced accessing things like insurance and different things like that. But it's just a general chat, really. We just kind of get on there and natter, and it's really annoying because we actually chat for about half an hour beforehand, use up a lot of our time just nattering away to each other, and then we start the episode and kind of repeat ourselves. So we need to get a bit more disciplined, I think, as to how we approach it.
So you also deal with many customers who have had difficulty getting protection cover, and so I think we would like to know, what have been some of your biggest success stories?
It's going to sound terrible, but it's quite hard to narrow it down because we do deal with absolutely anything and everything. So one that really sticks out in my mind recently was somebody who came to us, and she was, personally, I deal with a lot of people with mental health conditions because of obviously my history of mental health. I know nice ways to speak to people, but this was somebody else's client at the time. So there was a lady who came to us. She needed protection insurance. She'd been declined everywhere, tried to put it through, couldn't understand why she'd been declined. Obviously, she'd had mental health, she'd had depression, stress, and had a previous suicide attempt. And we were trying to figure it all out. We eventually managed to get a copy of the medical reports ourselves. And one of our team was going through it, because that's part of what we do, and established that the reason she'd had the suicide attempt was that her children had been kidnapped. And basically, that had been her response. Now, as a mum, I don't think my initial instinct would be to try and attempt to take my life if if my children were kidnapped. However, our argument was, and this became a complete passion for one of our team, she basically said to the underwriters, can any of you look me in the eye and tell me that that wouldn't be your reaction? Honestly, can you tell me that you know exactly what you would do if that had happened and you were getting no support, you didn't know where your children were, and you potentially flipped out for half an hour? And luckily, there was an insurer that did agree, and they turned around and said, actually, you know what, you are completely and utterly right. That this is, and also her trigger, it's completely. What is the likelihood of that happening to her again, in a sense? What is the likelihood of that situation happening again, and her facing that kind of thing, which has pushed her to her absolute limits? And I'm really pleased to say that obviously that we were able to get her the insurances, the life insurances that she wanted, and that is just, that's one example. Obviously, there is other ones with mental health conditions. I've spoken with people who are they have been post-traumatic stress disorder because they've been in the army, and as they said to me quite bluntly, I've killed people and I struggle to cope with it, and I still struggle. There was another lady where her mum had been murdered, and we were trying to support her because, again, she had had a long time trying to come to terms with this, and the insurers were saying, well, you're still suffering post-traumatic stress, and we were saying, yeah, her mum was murdered, seriously, come on. People who have had cancers when they're younger, getting them life and critical illness when they're move on. And I think that the thing that we do as well is that we build a package, and there's lots and lots of different things that we do. And I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit over time at all. Am I going a little bit over time? Just so, basically, there are the standard insurers, there are specialist insurers that we have access to as well. There's also different things like looking at group insurances, and there was just so many different things you can build for people. So what I would say is that if you are unsure, please do, even if you want to contact us and just have a chat, so we can say to you, look, maybe you've missed something in this insurer. Not saying you don't know everything about insurers, but sometimes it is what we do day in, day out. And if you're faced with something new, we're happy to point you in the right direction, or indeed, step in and help if you do need that help.
Thank you. There's just one last question we ask everyone, and what are you most likely looking forward to when the lockdown lifts?
My initial thought is Nutella ice cream from a Sardinian ice cream shop in the Scarborough. It's Sicilian. Is it Sicilian? No, Sicilian ice cream. You can't beat Sicilian ice cream, so I'm just going to be going there and camping outside the front door.
Well, thank you very much, Catherine. It was very interesting. Marcus,
Thank you.
What do we have next?
Thanks, Clem, and thank you, Catherine. That was just absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
So now we head back to Rohan in the kitchen. See how he's getting on with the finishing touches. I say he, Rohan, come on, talk us through this. You seem to have been at your desk for the last 10 minutes.
If there was ever an appropriate scene to go alongside from the sublime to the ridiculous, I think that's about it. Catherine, that was absolutely amazing. People, I would strongly advise you to check out Catherine's social media, all that kind of thing as well, because she's a really good example of how to get your name out there to people, how to present relevant information and stuff, and really put yourself out there. So thank you ever so much, Catherine. This feels ridiculous doing prawn linguine after that.
Crack on, we're looking forward to it.
Let's go to the ridiculous then. So Nathan's been busily cooking away. I'll just wander through to the kitchen here. How are we getting on, Nathan? Yeah, all good, just about ready to go. Running through what we've done. Yeah, go for it. Go on. So chorizo in there. Just sweat it down to get all the oil out. So there's no oil in this recipe. You just use the oil from the chorizo. And then pump the heat up. Put in your chilli and garlic and your prawns. And then wine, lemon, tomatoes, whole thing comes together in about 5 minutes. And then all we're going to do is, this pasta's now cooked, so you add it straight from the water. The starch from the water helps make the sauce as well. So Nathan and his girlfriend just got back from 5 months in South and Central America, so they've come to live with me. And one of the things they've really missed is cooking. So I've got this fabulous deal in place where I buy the food and they do the cooking. So I've basically got my own 2 chefs doing every meal of the day, and it's just a super little setup we've got here. And then you've just got rocket, just a handful of rocket that you sort of chop roughly, fold that in. I take it back actually, I reckon I can eat prawn linguine now.
Really good. Prawns are cracking as well. Yeah, very good this, guys. Highly recommended.
Definitely beats a bowl of crunchy nut.
Well, thank you, Rohan and Nathan, for cooking up the stove so early in the morning. On the show tomorrow, we have our usual financial well-being thought of the day with Chris Budd, our fitness focus with Steve Martin, and an interview with Andy Coles, and a new feature with Hirin Penchal and Dan Graham, looking at some good news stories from around the world in our Global Friday Wins.
Tell you what, I'm certainly looking forward to that. I feel like the news is all getting a little bit negative for me today. So Hirin and Dan, really looking forward to your news segment tomorrow. So looking forward to next week, and we're going to wrap up a little bit early today, but looking forward to next week. We've got a packed week of guests as ever, including the Head of Financial Planning at the CISI, Jackie Lockie, which will be really interesting to hear her thoughts. We've got divorce specialist Tamsin Kane, mental health advocate and public speaker Nick Elston, and former Thunderbird and presentation skills coach Dominic Colenso. So that's us for today, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day and stay safe. Cheers.
Bye.